what is this? I'm waiting. I'm going to do the intro, but I want to know what this, Welcome into Soccer Mom Sunday. Jennifer C's here with JB Anderson, who likes to surprise me with song choices.
This was not intended to be surprised. This was on the guest to come's top of the list.
I just couldn't get it right away. I was like, ding, ding, what is this song?
Don't you ever play Name That Tune?
I'm bad at it.
This is one of those ding, killers. I got it.
I have family members who are really, one's really good at 80s trivia. One's really good at stuff like this. Me, I'm usually good for that one thing we learned in high school because I was a nerd. So,
which was what?
Well, not anymore. I don't remember. But there was something about Heathcliff. At Lindenwood, I came up with the winning answer for men versus women. And it was the damn literary story about Heathcliff and the Moors, and it was a sad tale. I don't remember now. See, it's all gone.
So you're saying there's a statute of limitations on the thing you remember?
Yes, I could not win that now. But I could order the drinks, and I will go get them at a trivia.
Well, there you go. Well, at a table of 6, I will keep that 6th slot open for the beer runner.
So, JB, how have you been, and who have you made mad on the Soccer Dad pod? I'm just curious.
So let's see here. In the last week or so, Kansas City still has us as enemy number 1.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not even fun anymore because they've dropped another spot in the rankings. And, the other day, some high school news came out and they were trying to rank high school teams. And there was a high school, Rockhurst High School was on the top 25 list.
Lindenwood we had to play them to get past regionals.
No, I'm saying like the Rockhurst High School.
High school.
Kansas, out of on the Missouri side, and you should have seen the people just flooding like that one's bullshit. Like, no, and there's not one St. Louis team on the list, and I didn't even have to say anything. I'm like, look, these people know.
Interesting.
They know what's up.
Interesting.
So outside of that, no, I mean we've actually been, I would dare say, making people happier, and we're not as engaging.
Just curious. There's an occasional controversy.
No major controversy yet. We've got, we do have a couple guests coming up that I guarantee there will be, and it's going to lead right back into the usual suspect content. High school coaches, they get fired up.
Yeah, for sure, especially here. I don't think we know as St. Louisans that it's different. I remember moving to Denver for my graduate degree and thinking people were like, it's not a big deal. Like, I was curious as to it was like, yeah, I go here, but it's just not a big deal. And my aunt, who's from Missouri but lives there now, and she's like, oh yeah, Jennifer, it's different here. It's not that big a deal.
It is a weird, we get so embedded, just so ingrained in the high school thing, let alone forget about soccer. It's just, where did you go, period. Mm-hmm. Down to things like, here's one of my favorites, it will always be Riverport. I don't care.
I think, yes, I will always say Riverport. I'm sorry.
No, God,
whoever sponsors it now.
That's what I'm saying. God himself could come down from the heavens, offer $1 billion to sponsor it. God Amphitheater, I will call it Riverport.
Yeah, I would. Because everybody knows what it is. Everybody. It doesn't matter who's sponsoring. And I'm sorry, sponsors again. So, but yeah, for sure. And I think also you can apply that to even early on club. What club did you play for? Uh-huh. And CYC. I went to St. Paul and Fenton, and at the time, we thought we were soccer gods.
Yeah, see, those of us on the east side of the river, we were all heathens. So
I didn't know
we got to choose between. I was like,
they play soccer?
Yeah, we got to choose between knockoff sodas and Pepsi, because Coke was on the other side of the river.
Oh, you didn't have parents bring? My dad was famous for when it was our turn, we'd bring the orange slices, of course, and then he bought Vest soda or whatever cheaper version of Vest soda he could find. If there was a cheaper version,
the cheaper version was called soda.
Yeah, and then you would put in. He'd got all the flavors. Like, we would have all the flavors, and so if it was our team, you get to put in your flavors. I'm going to put 3 black cherry because I want to be sure I get a black cherry. I'm going to put one of these flavors in because lemon limes taste like crap, and then you'd put all the different flavors in, and so. I got my popularity on by, it was like, oh, it's Cease's turn. I'm like, bringing all the flavors.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was a grape or orange. I love those 2 flavors, and I would just I would drink water as a kid, which was kind of
that was
normal.
weird. We didn't do that.
If it was black cherry.
Like, oh, yeah.
Or the cream soda. Oh my God.
Oh, my dad loved cream soda. We had that. You would come in from playing outside and just chug from the, sorry, it's gross, 2-liter bottle of cold cream soda.
No. That's why, I mean, our immune systems were out of this world back then.
And dental bills were high.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it was fun. You know, somebody should write a book on the dietary sideline history of soccer matches, youth up, from orange slices to, God, I see some of them today. I mean, they're bringing out like Costco boxes of like Oreo, individual wrap packages and stuff. I'm like, that's kind of like selling out there.
That really is. Or you get my daughter's really health conscious because she has coaches who are health conscious. We had Coach Guns on our episode 2 that talked about that. And she's very particular about, she knows how to fuel her body, whereas my 7-year-old's like, I had a bag of chips. I'm like, awesome. That's why you're playing like shit. You're tired.
Yeah, those Ruffles have ridges and you are slow.
Did you only eat half the bag? Because you needed to eat the whole bag.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the whole culture, especially youth soccer, when it comes to all the ancillary things, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think Marin sent us to BioSteel. There's some kind of drink that she absolutely, and George came home and he's like, this 12-pack like cost $50, Marin. He was so mad.
Yeah, no, they're gonna get water.
Yeah,
that's the deal.
Water, and I had a fellow coach at one point. She's like, and you put in like a 1/4 cup of your Gatorade in your water so you can balance your electrolytes. I'm like, I'm just happy. My 7-year-old, shout out to Harper's 2016 Lou Fuse team, won the Missouri Rush Tournament 2015 division.
Nice, playing up.
Those little girls city pressed their way into, they were little ankle biters pressing the hell out of 8-year-olds, and but she comes like off the field, like she subbed herself off. She's like, I'm done. And I'm like, oh my God, she's leaving the field, and then just bursts out crying. She was dehydrated. I didn't know she had already previously chugged all of her water, so her belly also hurt. And she was upset because she had no water, and she thought she was going to, quote, throw up and die. And so I had to run over. I'm like, I can't believe I've gone from coaching and feeling like I was cool to running around the field to calm her ass down and then steal water like you do from some good parent who brought more water, pour some water into hers.
Well, you just tell them, lean your head back, open your mouth, throw water.
That's right. Remember when you put under the spouts of the big things you'd put your face under?
Well, I remember how the end of the hose tasted, like that little bit of metal.
There is only a certain taste. And I've had my kids, the ones who have phones and see reels, are like, Mom, did you guys really? I'm like, yeah. Why? I'm like, I don't know. We all did it, which is, why either I'm going to have the best immune system or I'm going to die of something that we'll find out was caused by that years from now.
Gen X is safe. We're good.
So to recap our last episode, it's kind of cool. We're building up episodes. I just now can only talk about the last one. Jackie Billett was on. Awesome perspective, being the stud player she was, quite possibly the nicest person and simultaneously a player you hated to play. Being a soccer mom.
You told her that.
I did. I thought, let's open the show by saying, I hated you. And she's like, thanks. But for the right reasons, please. Right? It's like, oh my God, we got to play the team with her again, which are all the best reasons. And then to get the bonus of finding out this is a wonderful human being who is really trying to put her experiences into practice with her daughter. Frankly, in my opinion, she is a great, and she doesn't know, I would say this, an example of somebody that you don't know is on your sideline that is quite possibly more qualified than the coach who's coaching your people.
Oh, yeah. No, we...
Licensed B coach. She knows it all.
It's so funny because, number one, she was great because it was this super pragmatic conversation given her lived experience as a player and as a coach at the highest level. And so when she does pass opinion or tells a story about her own kid or her own experiences, it's like there's a frame of reference there that she's a pro. That's a cancer surgeon saying that's a bad cell.
Right.
You know?
And do you know that she's been occasionally then like the right, like we thank you, but we don't need your help. We don't need parent coaches, which I kind of appreciate. But it's like, you guys don't know who she is, do you? You just don't, because you should get her involved. It would be good.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about St. Louis in general. On every sideline, I guarantee there is someone similar to that. Mm-hmm. Just because the pedigree is so large, so wide, that whoever's speaking the least at a game, go ask them what's going on, because they probably know
that's Jackie
more than everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Spouting off.
So it was great to like just get her perspectives and hear what's runs through her mind when her daughter's playing, or when she's like, she says, she's like, our next guest coming up does a lot of walking miles at practices. So yeah, I was excited about steps, lots of steps. In fact, our next guest has counted steps. I think she's recently, I want to welcome in Kelley Nelson, how many miles you've posted this before?
Yes.
Where are you at?
Basically, when my kids started practicing in 2020 and we were at Lufuse and I could do the Creve Coeur Lake walk and it was 7 miles, I kind of made a goal, like, I'm all right, I'm going to walk 2,000 miles this year.
Okay. Ew.
So then 2020 happened and I got about 2,200 miles in, because what else were you going to do? So we were walking a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm about 1,700, 1,600 right now. A little bit behind because it was a really hot August.
Get your shit together.
I know.
God, what are you doing?
1,700. Like my car is tired after that far.
About 6 miles a day is what I'll do, because, I have 3 kids and I am like the epitome of the soccer mom. And when they're practicing, I'm not going to be the person sitting in the car. I'm going to be active too, because that's what I'm 46 years old. Like, I have to maintain my activity level. I'm asking a lot of them. You'll see me out there in winter gear and everything else.
I've seen you
with
from my
gloves.
van, where I'm like, hey, if you get cold, come in the heated van. I'm right here.
Right. But if the boys are doing it, then I'm going to do it too, and I'm going to work it out and make that part of my day. So
Kelley, give us a little bit of logistics. You mentioned 3 kids that are playing.
Yeah, so you have to go back. So there's a reason you need all that energy, because you and I met probably Marin
2010-ish.
Ish. And my kids were going to Goddard in Oakville, which is where you work. So you need a lot of energy for preschoolers.
Yes. Yeah. So I am the preschool director at the Goddard School in Oakville. I've been there for almost 23 years.
Oh my gosh.
I have, I started before I met my husband, had 3 kids. They all went through school. So my oldest is a junior in high school at Marquette. I have a middle son, a freshman that's at Marquette, and then a 6th grader who Liam, Jen's son, plays with. So we started club soccer. Ben did great during that pre-K league, K-League, Holy Infant, where we live out in Ballin.
Yeah.
Did great, and it was kind of like, okay, let's step it up a level. So probably 2013-ish, we made the jump into a developmental league through a club, and did the Friday night lights, right? We're under there.
Is there anything better than Friday night lights with youth soccer?
It was
in
so
particular?
much fun. It was so much fun, and just seeing him thrive in that environment. The downside for him is Ben had a lot of anxiety about playing.
He's the one who's now a senior.
He's a junior.
Or junior.
Yes.
So he and your oldest and my oldest have actually played together.
Right.
So got it.
So his anxiety was that he wanted to be with his friends. And so when you're under the Friday night lights, you kind of get moved around. Right. So, it's like, hey, this kid's got some good skills. Let's move him over here. Let's move him over here. So we'd be on 4 different teams in a 2-hour period, and he's way far away from his kids that he wanted to be with.
Yeah, his buddies.
So he was the kid that didn't like to shake hands at the end of the game because he was so competitive
oh my God, I love him even more. I went through a period where I was like, pissed off.
I'm not shaking hands.
Not good game.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
So I actually, Jen's husband at Goddard, we had a lot of conversations about that, and he was like, you probably need a smaller club. Just something that he's going to feel like he has a little bit more control over his environment, knowing that he wants to develop, but not at that rate. We don't need to be constantly looking for someone better than him, because if you're better than someone else, then you're pushing someone else off of a team, and the whole team camaraderie kind of is jeopardized for that. So we went to a smaller club. I had a great time. Then the age switch happened where they kind of realigned
I remember
everything from the school year to birth year.
Yep.
So we found another small club. He was with that club, and actually we were considering going out to Oakville United because like I worked there. I knew Jen, I knew George, I knew Scott Hannock. And it was like, am I really going to work in Oakville, go home to Baldwin?
I remember this conversation.
And then come all the way back to Oakville 2 or 3 nights a week. Like, no.
Yeah, that's figure 8. You don't want to be doing
like
that.
I think we're okay. So
I remember when it was kind of like, no, he's not going to play, and Scott explaining kind of why, and I was like, oh, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Why logistically, even though you work here, you don't live in Oakville.
Right. So we ended up playing for an Ajax team that was like Oakville United's biggest competitor. So instead of having, like a camaraderie and a niceness, like it was like, kind of like, we're playing
and then I just dropped
here.
my kids off. I'm like, I hope they're bad for you today. Got her, Kelley.
Did you guys come to soccer naturally? Did you or your husband play? Or did the kids gravitate towards it, multi-sport?
So
how did that switch?
Yeah, I played. I actually grew up South City. I went to St. Joan of Arc. It's funny. We never had like a select following. Like no one from any CYC schools around us played select. I mean, there was enough competition in the area. Joan of Arc versus Our Lady of Sorrows, or Joan of Arc versus Epiphany, or select
some of those were throwdowns.
Oh. Big time, and always in the city county finals. Like we would be matched up against Seven Holy Founders or St. Paul and Fenton, or like those.
It's almost like the high school thing when it comes to CYC
I mean, it was
soccer.
like I remember
with more beer on the sidelines.
and a prayer before the game,
and maybe with your coach.
Some of the coaches.
So when we went, my sophomore year, we moved out to Queen of All Saints, and my brothers kind of started into the select era. Well, in the meantime, I tried out for my high school. I went to Narix Hall, tried out my freshman year, and I got cut because I had no idea like how to do moves. Like we didn't practice that.
Right.
We didn't know how to like do a Cruyff turn. Like,
what was it like at tryouts though? Were you like, oh my God, what's happening?
And so I graduated in '95, and like elite soccer players like Tori Dolan, Lori Melching, Carrie Lobb, Liz Passanisi, like these girls were like amazing. And I'm like, okay, like I'm working my butt off, but like had no clue. So I got cut and I was devastated. Like it was like, oh, no. Like I love soccer. I know I can do this. And I was really, 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 really shy. So I worked.
What?
I know,
right?
I used to be kind of type B. Like it's weird. It's weird. So I really worked at it and worked with just knowing myself and knowing my training and seeing how my younger brothers, what they were doing. I was like, you know what? I can do this, and I'm going to try out, and I'm going to make it. And because I don't need the moves if I show the hustle. And I know I probably was so overwhelmed at freshman tryouts. And you're talking in February that I almost shut down. Like I didn't even know, I didn't know this, so I didn't even know how to compete. So when you were a sophomore, the tryouts were a little different. They kind of knew everybody and knew where they belonged, so it was more game. And in the games, I was effective. Like I might not be able to do a drill or juggle, but I could be on the left wing and I could ruin someone's day. Like I was fast and I had it. So I played my sophomore and junior year, never made it to varsity. But again, like with the elite people that I had playing varsity, that wasn't really part of it. It was more of that pride for playing for your school. Mm-hmm. So my younger brothers played for Bush, for South County United, for I think Scott Gallagher before that turned into Scott Gallagher. They kind of had that
pre-merger.
Yeah. So it was always fun, and I loved going to watch their games. I love going to their tournaments, and their tournaments always were during the summer. So we would do like a week in Colorado Springs, and it was a cool tournament. But we turned that into family vacation. We would go up to Minnesota and do the USA Cup. Like my younger brother played against England and Pakistan and like all of these things, which was so cool. I mean, these tournaments were amazing.
But were they as cool as the Mall of America?
I mean, the Mall of America is amazing, right? So those were always things that we did as a family. So when my kids got to that level and they showed that they had some athletic ability, it was kind of like that was what we knew. My husband played for Parkway South, played for White Star.
I'm already judging him.
Yeah, I know.
He is dead to me. I've never met him, and he is dead to me
anymore.
Yeah.
And wait, hold on. You guys are also crazy fans about other stuff too. Football. Come on, say it.
All right, go Vikes. Viking fans.
And they're unapologetic with their the Nelsons are very. I love it. They're very passionate.
Do you fly a flag on your porch?
We do.
Oh my God.
We used to have a big Viking like inflatable guy that has been so long. That was actually showed up
JD's
to our
gonna turn
wedding.
your mic off now.
No, there's a follow-up question. Do you rotate the Viking flag for the Easter Bunny flag for Easter?
No.
Okay,
We
perfect.
really only have
you're good.
have the sports flags. We have a city flag and a Viking flag. So we don't even have cardinal flags. Like and
Yeah.
huge cardinal fans. But
Yeah, sports flags are one thing. The Hallmark flags are the one that I'm like, I just
can't.
don't get this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know. Do fly.
And we digress.
So anyway, when we were in grade school era, we're seeing, and Ben kind of was always our guinea pig, our oldest. And it was, okay, well, we like this club. And then Charlie got a spot on a team. And then Zach got a spot on the team. And then it was like, okay.
Same club.
Same club. Yeah, we were all with Ajax. And then 2020 happened and COVID hit and things kind of changed. And Charlie's team decided to make a switch over to another bigger club. And just because the pathways were more obvious for him.
Charlie's number 2.
Number 2. So at that time was the year that Ben was trapped. And I was like, well,
trapped year.
Let's go ahead and move him too, because it's a bigger club and we have better options to find something. That's how he got onto Georgie's team.
Yep.
Georgie was not a trapped player, but we went on to that. And then Zach is our youngest, and it was like, well, if we're going out there already twice, like let's just put all 3 of them there.
Yeah, so much of this is really like family logistics.
Totally,
and I think so many people listening to this right now I guarantee are like bobbing their heads like, oh yeah, not only is it club, which gives you a particular location, or some clubs have 2 locations. Now you get into what day of the week, what time is practice,
right?
And those logistics are legit.
Isn't it the best though when you have schedules come out and you're like, yes,
they all align.
Like last night, it was like 6:15 was Liam, and Harper started at 6:30. I drop Liam off, then you go do Harper, then you can do a little something, then you pick that kid up. It's like the Zen for a parent. Mm-hmm. We're not cool.
I mean, it really is. It's like the little things in life as parents of 3, because I have 3 boys as well, and it's like when those schedules come out, you have anxiety for the start of school for your children.
August sucks.
You got to figure out carpooling on that side, and then God forbid they play on different clubs, and you're just waiting for the nuclear bomb to blow up on your calendar.
Right.
How do you guys as a family, and we'll get back into their pathways, but since we're talking about calendars, how do you guys do you have like a family meeting on, let's look at the week, and do you incorporate other things like meal planning and all these other things when you're so busy?
I learned a meal planning tip from your husband, by the way.
Oh, the chicken.
Something about, the chicken. I talk about it all the time. When my kids bitch about the fact that we still have chicken, I'm like, the Nelsons do it. They prepare all this chicken, eat it before it goes bad.
So we live and die by the Cozy app. And I don't know if that's something that you have, but it's all color coded. And it's like, okay, Zach has this practice, Charlie has this practice, Ben has this practice. This is what's going to happen. This is who's in charge. It's a Kelley or Chris day. I'll take Zach, you take Charlie. We've got these things. It helps now that we have a 17-year-old driver
driving
that can help and do things.
For sure.
And we were actually talking, George and I were talking about like all of your things that have kind of come up, and he was like, 3 years ago we couldn't have done this, because we can rely on our kids to be okay at a field for half an hour or 45 minutes until we can get to them. And
we can kind of rely on Liam, not really.
Yeah. I mean, Zach is the same.
You can be okay. Oh, your 7-year-old sister will keep you in line.
Yeah. But then again, sometimes you can, they'll be lost on their phone for 2 hours and they're like, what? I didn't eat.
Yeah. And then they're starving and about to die.
Right.
Yeah.
So we really do a lot of the Cozy app and making sure. But the chicken trick is basically Chris throws 4 or 5 chicken breasts in a crock pot on Monday or Sunday night. He shreds it, and then that can be grilled chicken, that can be with frozen vegetables, that can be with a quesadilla. Like, it's anything. Like, throw it into pasta. Like, you're the world is your oyster, buddy.
Protein.
You've got lots of good chicken here.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's no greater kitchen invention than the crock pot.
Nope.
Hands down.
Not even, I dare say, the Instapot, but I'm just. You can do less harm with a crock pot, and I can find harm.
Yeah, I mean, literally thousands of years ago, somebody invented the fork, and they have been put aside by the crock pot.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
So for sure, I love that. You said as we sat here and kind of waited to see where we were going to sit here at Circle 7. By the way, a little shout out to our hosts who are near my house and feed my family more than I would care to admit, and then clean up all the dishes for me, and I love them. That we were chatting, and you were like, "I'm just a soccer mom." Like, stop it now. You're uber energetic person, uber competitive person who cares a lot about each of her kids' different personalities and different experiences. And how lucky are we to have aligned where our oldest are boys and practically the same age. Mm-hmm. Our second-borns have actually played against each other. Mine's a girl, hers is a boy, and they have played against each other in like a friendly. Mm-hmm. And Marin's like, I'm gonna go cream Charlie. I'm like, I hope he creams you too. You have a great game. And then our third-borns are on the same team currently. In fact, I don't know if you know this, Zagk was a huge reason that Liam changed clubs. Once Zagk changed and said, you guys, we both were looking for a different experience. Not that we weren't in a great place with great training, but the system of this bigger club was not fitting our boys. And a huge reason that Liam was in Liam's tick sheet in considering moving was, but Zach Nelson's going. So I think I need to think about it.
Yeah. So it's funny. I have 3 completely different kids. Like my oldest son started playing defense, moved up to a wing, and now is playing a midfield.
And he's a lefty, right?
And he's a left-footed, yeah. But he can play anywhere on the field. I wouldn't trust him at center back, but that's basically the only, because I don't like the way he plays the middle.
What about, excuse me, what about personality-wise? Being the oldest, is he a type A? Is he more chill?
He's Officer Nelson. Like, I mean, it is like by the book. This is what we're supposed to do. Like, even sometimes with his positioning, when he's learning a new position, he doesn't skew from a position.
No, it's like, this is where
the coach told me this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
My middle son is a little bit more riskier. He played.
This fits all the birth order books.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He played at the highest level possible. So he played. He's very small. He was. He's a 2008 birth year, but they moved him to the 2009 developmental player because he was in like the 8th percentile of height and weight for his age group.
That's
so
my third.
He made it into that developmental program as a developmental player for MLS Next. Truthfully, knowing what we know now, I would have never let him do that. Personally, he was on that team and he was on another team. And so he would literally practice 3 or 4 hours a night, 3 or 4 days a week. He would have practice from 5 to 6:30 and then a 7:30 to 9 practice. We would get homework done. We wouldn't go home because we would go to bread company. We'd do different things. And he never got any playing time on the MLS Next. And they kept citing it as his size. I can't
believe they actually, like, I appreciate that they said it, because a lot of times clubs won't say it, but you can see it.
Right.
It's like, this is a clear reason. I wish you would just tell me my third-born is very small right now.
Right.
Just say it.
Well, and just be honest with him from the get-go. Like, he would have awesome practices. They would say, great tonight. Great job. You did amazing. Didn't take a wrong turn on the ball. Like those types of things. And then he wouldn't get to play. Like even on some friendlies or things against like internal teams. And it was like, gosh, breaking his heart. Like just have an honest conversation and just say you're not good enough. Because you knew going in that his size was small. And he was still one of the smallest kids on the 09 team. Like he was, even though he was an 08 birth year. The honesty that was so lacking in that. And we tried to take a hands-off approach. Like, hey, guess what? You're a big kid. You need to talk to your coach.
And you also don't want to be those parents, right? You don't want to be those
parents. That fine line between getting involved and encouraging advocacy.
Right.
And speaking up.
And also occasionally being a parent being like, this is bullshit. Right. There are times as a parent, like, I don't know how
reward him with a friendly,
like
reward him to put the uniform on for something, like just go sit on the bench, like something.
Say this isn't a fit.
Right. So it was, that was the really, really hard time. And so February of 2022, we actually drove out to Rams Park, and he walked up to the coach and he quit, and he shook his hand and said, I'm done. And we both cried the entire way home. Like, it was the most heartbreaking trip that we've ever had, because he was so genuinely done, and he had gotten beat down just so much, and he couldn't take it anymore. And it was
like the sport at all, right?
At all. He hated it. He wanted nothing to do with it. So ironically, he went and started playing basketball.
Pistol Pete coming down the pipe.
I remember your Facebook post, and I was like, good for him. Like, if he's going to pick an alternate sport, pick one where height matters. Go get it, Charlie.
So he started playing 3 different basketball teams, 2 at very high levels. One was CYC, the other was a Marquette feeder team, and one was a Parkway Rock team, both with at the highest level possible. He made the second best feeder team, as a size, and all 3 of his coaches not one time quoted his size as being an issue. He was playing a point
in a sport where it would be acceptable to say
Correct. When you hear a soccer coach say you're too small, and you're getting, and then you've got a basketball coach never mentioning that as an issue, it was very hard for him to understand.
Yeah, because on the soccer side, they do this thing, as you well know, it's called bio-banding, right? Where for the kids that are smaller within an age group, they allows them to go down. And I've talked to a lot of people about it that have had kids as well that have been part of the process. It's a 50-50 shot as to whether or not it's a good fit, because you want the kids playing and you got to get them in there, but this whole idea that any club would say too small without really measuring the individuals on merit is ridiculous, because I'm pretty sure Messi's 5'8".
Yeah. And they'll tell you, it's not, Messi's an anomaly. And I agree, he is.
Well, the other night, Puig out in LA Galaxy versus City. I mean, he was the smallest dude on the field.
Yes.
Putting the ball on
and
net.
And I'll go ahead and put because I don't know if you want to talk about it, but this last year where our sons were still playing, they're actually playing together. They're both on JB Marine. They were over at Fuse, but it was a point where they were, entering an age group for MLS Next. Cool. Liam was like, yes, I'm going to be the next awesome Messi. It's like, yeah, I got time. So but what happened is that, you've got, and it happens at all the clubs. Mm-hmm. But when you look and see like who gets quote invited and who doesn't, and then you see like, oh, these players who are in the next flight down from you because they can't match your skill, but they're tall, they're fast, they're strong. What are we finding here for soccer? And he literally asked me that question. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. You're a preemie. I don't know when you're going to grow. I don't know how you're going to grow. I know you spend all your free time on the ball. And he was just like, I'm done. Like, kind of the same story in a different way. Not with the sport, but I'm done with this.
It was.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. When Charlie was going through this, because it didn't happen in a 24-hour period. This was an accumulating event. How did you guys, what were those car rides home like, the 6, 9, 12 months? How did you guys manage it to make sure that, you felt like you were doing the best you could do as a parent, knowing he's frustrated?
Right. They were hard, because he'd get in from practice and he would say, it would be like, how'd it go? And he'd be like, oh, I played well. Like I had great turns. I had good runs. I had these things. And he was like, I think I'll dress out. I think I'll dress out. And I'm like, all right, yeah, get out there and work your ass off. Like, and then we would have his next practice, and he'd be playing well. And he would get frustrated in the during an MLS Next practice, if they took a wrong touch or they made a bad pass, everybody's doing push-ups at that time. They would like drop and give me 10 push-ups. Like that was a terrible ball. What are you thinking? The game planning, soccer IQ, let's get there. And then he would go to his next game practice, and they'd have to do push-ups because somebody pants somebody else in line. So he was like, the levels were just so different, and so it was very hard for him to manage that too, and know that he was supposed to be a leader on a lesser team, but lesser players are sometimes very difficult to lead.
Right.
Yeah. And so he was just overwhelmed. It was, and to the point that looking back on everything, even the game plan was never going to be Charlie's MO. Their game plan of have the tall, big striker and get a through ball to him who can outrun the defense. Well, Charlie was a finesse player. He was probably one of the highest skilled players, could do all these things, and you put him on any end line and he was going to be able to get the ball away on a 1v1, but he's not going to be that tallest, fastest kid that is going to be able to outrun everybody. Right. He just has little legs.
So was he cognizant of that?
He was. And I think only in retrospect. I think when your eyes get big and you're asked to do something and it's hey, at first, initially when they said 2009, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy? Yeah, and then it was the elite status of that and the way that the club treated the MLS Next players was so fantastic. They'd have team dinners and film days and workout days and all of these things, and it was so great. And so I think his eyes kind of got also big, I can do this and look at where I am. And then it just petered out little by little by little by little, to the point that when Zagk is a goalie, he's my sixth grader. We took him out of it.
He's a crazy good goalie, by the way.
We took him out of that rotation. I mean, I had many emails with Ren Herzog and with Tom Fuller, who's the goalie coach, and said, we're not there. We don't want that for him. He loves basketball and he loves soccer, and he loves basketball. He likes soccer. Let's put it that way. As a keeper, basketball really helps his skills, but being goalie training also helps his basketball game. It really works well together. But when we said, do not even put us in that conversation, put us down on a lower team.
Can you speak a little bit to the whole, because within these clubs, there's the squeaky wheel syndrome, in so much that the clubs are generally reacting to those parents first that are just, the quote, squeaky wheels. And what you're talking about isn't that. You were dealing with specific, a reality with Charlie in particular, from a physical standpoint, from the playing standpoint, his own frustrations, and then you guys made the decision after the fact. But do you have advice for parents that are, maybe going through some frustrations with their own child's playing time or expectations, in so much as how to or when to approach coaches? Because most parents that are really honest with themselves about what state their child is in or what level they should be tend to be a little bit more laid back, but that's not really helping the situation.
Right. And yes, I have advice. It often goes on deaf ears because sometimes like with Liam and Zach's team last year, there were 4 games in a row that we pulled off as a victory, and kids came off the field crying.
Yes.
Because it wasn't good enough. They didn't play well enough. They gave up bad goals.
They were 11.
They were 11. And the parents didn't see that. And I think I could see it because they're not even having fun.
Well, you said something.
They're winning.
Remember?
Right. George and I would sit back and see these kids walking off the field in tears, and it's like, you won 5-3. What more? Why is this an issue? Or you lost a friendly and water bottles are thrown, in anger. Okay, hold on a second. Take a step back, because I'm going to be very, very honest. There is such a small number of kids that even on an MLS Next team will ever go further with the sport by the time they get to 17, 18, 19 years old.
To pros.
To a pro, yeah. Right. As a boy, D1 soccer is a very different level than D1 girls soccer. If there are football teams in a D1 school, then your soccer team is a club team. Like Mizzou has a club team. SLU has a D1 program. But when you start going into those private universities, even if they got soccer scholarships, you're going up to Boston University, or you're going to Creighton or Dayton, and these places are very different skill-wise and the expense of things. So you don't have as many options going into college as for a D1 soccer school.
Because on the NCAA side, on the men's side, these schools get 9.9 scholarships, period. That's it. Whether it's an Indiana University or Appalachian State or whoever, nowadays those clubs, those teams are carrying 25 to 30 players. A vast majority are walk-ons, where the coaches are like, you got to be at a certain level, but you're going to be a walk-on because our money is funneling down this way.
Right.
So as families, that earlier the better to have the conversation. The kids don't have to commit, but kind of along the lines of what you're alluding to, creating your own expectation, through your child. What do they want to do? Do they want to keep playing at this level? Do they want to play in college? Did you guys have those conversations, or are you having those conversations?
Totally. So I think that's a very hard balance to understand. Like, my 17-year-old is a junior. He's playing Marquette. He's starting. He plays for a Lufuse team in the spring. Likely that team is dividing up. State Cup week, we found out that the coach wasn't coming back, and great, that's fine. We'll find another club for him. He doesn't really want to go forward. He wants to go and play, and he wants to be a college student, and he wants to go to a school. Now, if he gets an opportunity to go someplace like a D3 school, D2 school, and they're going to pay him to do it, then yeah, we're going to have those conversations. Like, hey, let's go. But D1 is not in his future. It wouldn't be in his future truly if we're talking about Charlie, who was playing at that MLS next level. If
That's
he
the
continued,
second one. Just
right?
For listeners,
Keep the map right.
Yeah, right.
He's kind of our quote unquote best field player. But Ben has always kind of achieved. He's always kind of set himself a goal to achieve. But we did a Maryville day in the life camp, and he got home and he was like, I don't want to do that.
Ben, your oldest.
Right.
Okay.
I just kind of want to go and be in college, and he knows how important grades are and how it's hard right now. During high school season, it's practice every night from 3:30 to 5:30, or he has a game, or he has this. Well, he also has school, and he also has a social life-ish. Where there's a lot of Xbox time,
right.
But there is trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at 11-year-olds coming off the field and after a win, and they're not okay, we need to do a self-check. We need to sit back and say, this might not be the right place for them. When looking for a new club, because of Zach's basketball schedule, we told Lufuse, listen, we'll have to move down. We're not committing to months and months of travel. Different, he plays basketball. I'm not. One of the leagues it started in November and went until May. Well, that's basketball season.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a no for us. So when we decided to move over to a different club, that's a smaller club with a coach that understands and has 3 student athletes that are in college currently, right. That he understands that balance of what we need to do.
And not necessarily penalizing.
Right. So Zach right now has preseason basketball training. And so I messaged and I said, hey, we're going to leave 15 minutes early. We'll get to basketball 15 minutes late. He goes, don't get him to basketball late. I don't want him to hate me. I don't want him to hate
right there.
Going to soccer because he wants to go to basketball, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed either way. He doesn't want to leave early and come in late.
Right.
But only make one. And he's like, we don't have a game for 2 weeks. Just go. He doesn't even have to come. So it kind of gives him so much more of a balance, and he's enjoying soccer again because it's not a job for him. He loves being with the team. He loves being with the kids. But when we were looking at the clubs and different options and stuff, they're in a league that does have some travel, and we know what dates they are, and we have that coming through. in our world still, I love a good out of town tournament, right? Like, like who doesn't love that? And an out of town league is so anticlimactic. It's like having a whole season of round robin tournaments that you only win on points, and there's no semifinal, and there's nothing to work for, and you're going all these places and you're playing 2 games over the weekend and you come home. And then what, in the end of May, you win? Like, well, it's
really delayed gratification on that one.
And for a 12-year-old, there's no
like,
gratification.
What? Versus standing there with potentially a medal and a trophy.
Right.
It makes sense to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Having a semifinal, going to a final. Like, so we're still in a league that I don't love. Yeah, I don't love that regional league that you're playing in.
Right.
And truthfully, at 12, all of those leagues are parent egos and less about the development for the kids, because we're in like a slice of division. We're holding our own. We're not blowing them out of the water, but we're not losing by a ton. There's competition here. And I'd rather do all the tournaments. If we want to go out of town 3 times and do 3 tournaments, I think that's great. Like the experience that you have, and you have that point total, and you have come through, and you have the semis, and you got tied at the end, and then you go to shootouts. That's all so much more meaningful to come out, and you've got hardware after a weekend. But if you're just in a weekend in Kansas City and you're like, cool,
got 4 points.
We got 4 points. And then it tallies up to the end of the season, and you're like, our kids aren't MLS now. They aren't MLS. They aren't the Cardinals. It's not a 162 game season.
I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. It's supply and demand. These leagues are exploding because there are parents that are filling their own egos via their kids, and it's a status thing. Mm-hmm. And I love what you're addressing here, kind of that need, the impetus, the focus on competition and team, winning as a team, and there being a reward, because there is a significant debate between competition, team first versus player development.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I remember being that parent too, is particularly with our firstborn, and we're doing things now differently with our thirdborn. What that I wish I would have done is, when do you decide to be the squeaky wheel? Do you or do you not? Is this about us? George and I both played at high levels, and there's ego involved. I'm not going to deny that. And then it's really reminding ourselves too, it's not our journey. It's like, ours is done. It's good. I don't want to do it again because my back would hurt. So everything hurts. Everything hurts. Even older women's leagues, I'm like, I don't know, right? And so like, our days are done. So it's got to be theirs. And am I willing to? I think with our thirdborns for sure together, that are playing still together. I knew when you guys were moving, and I was like, I know exactly what they're thinking, because it's what we're thinking. Mm-hmm. That in the end of the day, as much as Liam says, he'll pick City if FC Barcelona doesn't take him, that, if I don't want him to be crushed as a 12-year-old to maybe get somewhere that he may or may not be at 22 years old.
Right. They're prepubescent.
Yeah,
So my 12-year-old is bigger than my 15-year-old. Is that going to always be true? We don't know.
No,
we have no idea. So,
same thing with Liam. His 7-year-old sister is closer to him in height than the one who's only 2 years old than him.
Right.
He hates it.
Right.
He hates it.
So to make him at 12 or 11 decide his future and say, you are going all in on soccer and this is what you're going to do, is not fair to him, but it's not fair to us either. Like, to have a club say, if you want to play at this high of a level, then you have to give everything else up. Well, I also don't want him to have an ACL tear by the time he is 14. So he needs to be cross-training. He needs to be doing other things, like not always doing the same thing. So, we're huge advocates of like running and doing things on our own as well.
Where is Zagk on that though? Is he, just curious as to your kid, is he like, are you holding him back, or do you know? Kind
of back and forth. He's a very big love the one you're with. So like after a soccer practice, like he's like, yeah, that was awesome. I did great. He got to play the field the other day, and he was like, thinking he's freaking Messi now. Like he's,
Goalkeepers.
Aren't they all?
Right. I mean, he's like, Mom, you should have seen it. I was playing like an attacking mid. I got the through ball. I'm like, great. That's awesome. I'm glad you had fun. You know, like that's what I want you to do. I want you to have fun. I want you to keep that energy alive. And then he'll come out of a basketball practice and it'd be like, I sank 3 threes and I did this and I like the kids that he's defending too. I mean, they're already 5'7" and you know, like the kids like right at 5 foot and they're 12. And I was like, you know, your future's not going to be basketball, but like it's okay. Like you can do that. So one of our good friends owns a restaurant up in St. Peter's, and he's good friends with. And I can't remember his last name, but it's Patrick that played for SLU. He was the goalkeeper. He went to Francis Howell, and he's a Columbus Crew goalie now.
Oh my God. Keep talking.
Okay, so
he's got to get the computer.
His mom had said, you know, like we never made him choose. And guess what? Both coaches understood that.
Boom. But they're right there.
Right.
That's what you have.
They both understood his future could be either way. Like he was a great basketball player. He was a great goalie.
Patrick Schulte.
Yes.
Boom.
I was thinking, yeah. Okay. So they never made him decide, I'm only going to specialize in this. And he played both sports all 4 years of high school. And then he signed with SLU. You know, like, so, I mean,
I have to bring up parent culture too is important because I understand, by the way, being a coach who also dealt with having the multi-sport, because I literally like would take her from gymnastics to Oakville United practice and then, maybe there was hitting for softball. I thought it was like, this was crazy. It is, you know, you have to have also a culture as a coach for that, which is hard because when you promote the multi-sport athlete, which we all know is great, you're going to make some sacrifices. They're going to miss some stuff. And then you also have to have your parent sideline, everybody else not being jackasses about, so-and-so left early and still got playing time. You have to have, it has to be everywhere.
Right.
Your whole team has to believe that. And that, of course, we want to be there and we all want to support them being whole-rounded individuals.
Like if we could invent a teleportation device, it would be amazing. Like if I could get from Creve Coeur Park to Principia in 4 minutes, like
and
that would be amazing.
Uber. It's
right?
not Uber.
Right. I think too, like we got very lucky, and another goalkeeper came over with us to JB Marine, and that is going to be a big fallback relief. Going to a smaller club sometimes you think like, oh my gosh, if we do have a basketball tournament and there is a conflict and it's the basketball championship or it's a slice of game, he's going to go to the basketball championship. Like that's going to be what takes precedent.
And then he doesn't have to feel like,
but he's not going to let everyone down.
Right.
You know, like there's another goalie that's there. We do have smaller numbers, but that's okay too, because that means they're getting, when he's not in the net, he's playing the field. And like, how awesome is that? Like we were laughing because like
Roman Berkey told me in an interview he did that as a youth, that he would split time with the goalkeeper.
Well, and Jen's husband, George, so my Zagk is a very fast runner. He is no endurance, but like he can run.
One sprint.
Give me the ball. And George said, he was like, I've never seen anyone run a 40 as fast as he did. Like he really can outrun basically anything. And he's done some track and he's run track and he's got this sprint speed. So George is like, I can't wait for him to show that in a game. And everybody's going to go, whoa,
that's the goalkeeper?
He's like, goalies usually come up and they're like, okay, let's do this.
Right.
We got to work on the endurance part. You know, like, you know, he still runs a 16-minute mile when like in gym class. I was like, dude, I can walk a 12-minute. Like, let's
come on, buddy. But let's circle back to, if you don't mind, to Charlie. So Ben's the firstborn, Charlie's the secondborn, Zach's the thirdborn. So we did some Ben, we did a little Charlie, Zach, but Charlie came back.
He came back.
I was shocked when you posted that.
I know. So
because I thought he was done. Done.
We took
meaning came back to soccer.
He came back to soccer.
Right.
Yeah. So he tried out. He made it onto a Marquette team. He was actually identified for the JV team. And at the end of the day, it was better for him to get more playing time at freshman level. So was told that he'll get called up if there's an injury or anything like that. There's just so many kids on a high school team, right?
Right.
So he's getting a lot of good playing time. But I really attribute the excitement of the World Cup in November kind of reinvigorated, like he was more curious. It's kind of like, okay, this is a sport that broke my heart, but that's an awesome game. And
Right.
all of these games were so tight. I mean, you've got like Mexico not qualifying at the end and like all of these things. And we just sat and watched for we were very sick a couple days that we had to not go to school. But that kind of ignited it. And then when City came in and had all of the excitement and all of the just the ceremony of a new team and these players winning hearts of these kids quickly, right. And the way that they did it, it was very grassroots, it was not, Lovan staying after or Berkey staying after and giving out his gloves or getting shin guards to the kids in the stands. And like, these were things that like were awesome to a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old. Yeah. But they probably didn't mean that much to them. Here's my shin guards. I don't know.
Which is barely a shin guard, by the way,
right.
Leuven. Eddie Leuven, that is not a real shin guard. Liam's got one too.
It's a credit card.
It's a piece of foam. Right. It's a piece of foam.
I know. Somehow we don't have season tickets. We've gotten several games, but Charlie has made it to almost every game. Yeah. We're like, how are you managing this?
What's your side gig?
Like he's like, oh, I'm going with this person. I'm going with this person. I'm going with this person. So this summer, when he started touching the ball again, the first time he picked up a ball, he started juggling and was well over 150 juggles. And he's like, I'm still him. I was like, guess what? You never stopped being him. You just let people get in your head to say that you weren't. You always had that.
And it rightfully crushed his heart.
Right.
I can't blame him for being like, I'm done.
Right.
I can't win here.
Right. And so he was a good off for 18 months and didn't play a game for 18 months. Started his playing great soccer for Marquette. He signed up to do a JV Marine team for this spring, and with Pete Calico. And he's really, really, really excited. And I think just he needed that break to refocus. And it was never that we pushed him too hard, too fast. I think he pushed himself, and I think he was taking all of his soccer skill was so good, and he had such a love of the game, and he let himself and coaches or teammates or just the external factors tell him he wasn't good enough.
Right.
And things he couldn't control either.
Right.
You can't control your height.
If a coach that and two or three of the coaches that he had were my height or smaller. And so it was like, I'm 5'7". So it's not like these aren't big men that are saying you're too small to do things. How about say, work on your core strength. I need you to stay stronger on the ball. I need you to do squats. I need you to but grow is like the one thing you don't have control over.
Liam would take it right now.
Right. Tell him. I mean, if you told Liam right now, you're not fast enough, what will Liam be doing?
He'd go outside and practice right now, like sprints
Totally.
and fast footwork and all that. Yeah.
He'd be like, come outside with me. Let's race.
Let's go, Mom.
The honesty in coaching needs to be, listen, you are there, but you're not good enough yet. You need to work on this, and this. We never got that construction.
Right there. And I want to point that out because you work in a preschool,
Mm-hmm.
right? You work in a preschool where we get excited because my kid's a bright star, or they still name the same thing, a firefly, or whatever they are, all those names. And we would have meetings and where you're getting feedback on your kid. Like, are they hitting their milestones? Is my kid being a jerk face in class? Do I have the angel or do I have the Liam? Or whatever that might look like. And honest critique and feedback, I know it's so uncomfortable, right? It's really uncomfortable to sit there and look at somebody and tell your kid, like in a preschool setting, it's like, they disrupt my class all the time. Mm-hmm. But I can't help them unless I know like what kind of that specific, honest, and uncomfortable feedback would have helped back then.
Right.
Versus the, hey, he's doing great. And it wasn't.
No. And so like, I always joke, like in my preschool, like we have the very hard job of being the first people to tell a parent that their kids aren't perfect. And it does not It does not.
But that's not what they're paying tuition for.
No, that doesn't.
They don't want
it's
the
not
truth.
heard. It does not. It's not heard.
Right.
So by the time they get into elementary school and they're hearing it again, it's kind of like, oh yeah, they kind of have been telling me that. But when you have coaches that keep advancing and keep doing things and saying this is where we're headed, and they keep allowing that to happen, but then benching without conversation, or to like Liam, what happened with us with Liam, developing. We're committed to development. We're committed to doing this. And then all of a sudden kids were put down on a lower team for a tournament. And it was like, well, wait a second, that's not developing. That kind of is a cop-out. Like you've had him now 3 nights a week for 12 months. And if he's not good enough, then we need to figure out why. Like, why is he not achieving this level? What are you doing to help him get there? Why are we just going to push him down to another team? That doesn't make sense either. And sometimes with the bigger clubs, I do know that they're focusing on that top level, right? And it becomes kind of a farm system everywhere else. But there are several kids that were lower levels in Liam and Zagk that are on our current team that there's no reason why they weren't playing at our level or higher. They are very...
There was one reason. Height.
Right.
It was very simple. I'll say it if you won't say it. It was height.
Yeah.
And they're 11 or 12.
And they're 12.
And I get that. Like, if that's the criteria, tell me the criteria, and then I will make an informed decision as a parent if I want to play in this game.
And I'm going to be 100% honest. If we ever wanted to go to that higher level and Zagk was ready for that, I would go back to Lou Fuse in a heartbeat. We did not leave with sour grapes. Like, it was more, this is better for us, this is better for our family, and I don't want you to be upset because Zagk is choosing basketball sometimes. But I also don't want you to make him choose soccer, because if you're asking him right now, make a choice, he'll say basketball. And we're okay with that to a point, but like, I also know I want him to play high school. Like when it's Marquette versus CBC in the district final, and it's the last minute goal that Marquette scores to knock CBC out, like, and the entire stands come out when are they going to get that? Like, right. Even Charlie, during the MLS Next games that he would go to, I mean, you've got 42 people maybe in the stands. No one's rushing the crowd. City 2 games are bigger now, but like, last year when they were played at Creve Coeur, I mean, you've got just a handful of people. You don't have that school pride of like what is happening. And I don't want to get into the debate between the academy level and the high school level, because I know that's such a hot topic. But
okay, we're done.
And your mic is off.
But I think that like we've had several friends that were playing U17 City and that walked away because they were playing for their mom, or they're playing for Huddle, or they're playing for VO.
Yeah, but isn't this the point right here? It's fit. And so in the work I do with athletes on the mindset side, sometimes we'll talk, they'll go quiet for a while, and then here they come, because it's tryout time, right?
Right.
And you're looking at it, I want them to also be sure is you're looking, obviously, to be a fit for the team, but are they a fit for you?
Right.
And that is important. And that was really important for our Liam, the third born, is this system right now that you are currently in, they're saying you can come back, are they a fit for you? And so a little bit different from Zagk, Liam would have chosen soccer all the way. Mm-hmm. Like, I all the way, baby. I'll go pro now. Give me the contract. I'll go
sign me up.
I'll be Messi's roommate. It'll be great. He's ready to be that. But for us, we put a little bit more parental decision on it, for saying we really need to consider another option, because right now we could see it. This isn't fitting you. Mm-hmm. And we don't have to leave on bad terms. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. But there is a different fit for you right now for your development. It's not where you are. Right. And so fit.
Well, and changing your position. Like Liam played defense
for 2 years.
For 2 years and never got the opportunity to move up. And now he's playing up, and he was the player of the game 2 weeks ago. Like,
stop it. He already knows it. He won't let anybody. He won't talk about it.
He was awesome. I mean, he played awesome, and he's just that's what you want to see. You want to see those huge smiles coming off, because guess what? I know I played well. I know I got that goal at the end. I on a 4-1 game, it doesn't matter. I earned it. And the pride that he had for that is going to take him so much further than a 5-3 victory that you come off in tears because you let up 2 goals at the end of the game. You know, like why? Like,
and fit like the you can't like, and I'm not. I got 2 girls that play in a larger club in a quote system, and systems fit certain people. Like the system is fine, but sometimes they don't. And when they don't, sometimes that small team where the club, you know, the coach knows everybody's favorite color. That's kind of what we have our boys on right now, and I love it so much because Liam will go up to Coach Gober, who I'm pretty sure Liam knows that Coach is pulling his leg, but he'll be like, I get to 112 juggles, and Coach will be like, oh, awesome, I just got to 113. And Liam's like, damn it. And so he goes back out. It's like, he knows he's pulling his leg, but it's this really great camaraderie that I don't think Liam knew he was missing until he got it.
Right. Well, and Coach Gober and Coach McEwen are working with the boys.
There's Matt McEwen, who's like, gets it, right?
And last night they don't have a game for 2 weeks. So last night they just did a fun practice. It was small-sided games, and Gober was coaching, and he was playing with them, and he scored the winning goal and ripped off his penny. And
Did he really?
And it was like, okay. I mean,
Liam must have been on the posing team because he did not tell that story.
12-year-old kid, you know, like and that's what is so refreshing. And yes, he's a dad coach, but he doesn't have a child on the team. McEwen is, I mean, highly touted, and I mean, his 06 team is phenomenal. But like, those are the guys that like, they also get it. They know that, guess what? We're going to have a school concert and it's going to suck. And my kid does not want to go, but he has to, you know, like, and we've got to do that. And it's not, having had some younger coaches that we've loved, and like the technical training has been fantastic. Like, but the reality of these 11-year-olds still have other commitments, and they can't be soccer all the time. They have to have other things they're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sitting here just kind of gobbling up both of your perspectives from this, and it's like, you know, because I'm in the same position as you. You know, all my kids have been in the systems. 2 of them are knee deep in it, and I think that there's a ton of non-malicious disconnect between the clubs, the coaches, the directors, and kind of their mission statement within the club. And then you have the families, parents like yourself. You tend to be way more advanced in so much that you guys are very cognizant of the reality of the situation with your boys. And I think that, you know, it's a tough road, it's a tough landscape because the expectations are so high. You know, we were talking about college a little while ago, and, you know, and there's the majority of parents that have kids that are maybe elevated to maybe slightly elevated and above. The expectations are just not realistic because they're not aware of the landscape. They're not aware of what these paths really look like. So what you guys have been talking about as far as like kid culture and that car ride home, and are they having fun, and like if those things are focused upon, D1 coaches, I don't care who it is, scouts, anywhere in the world, if a kid is that good, they're going to be found. It doesn't really matter where they're at. There's certain pathways.
Easier now with social media than even back in our day, right?
And that's really kind of my point here. And this is what, like, for the parents that are listening, you know, trying to figure out, where do I fit? Where's my kid, etc. Look, let them have fun. If they are the best team, or excuse me, if they're the best player on any given team, and they're neutral, they're on the wrong team.
Right.
They need to be middle of the pack, and they need to be challenged if they truly love the game and want to excel. If that's not important to them, then completely shift your parameters. Logistics, who are the other families, who's their buddies.
Sidelines are important too.
Oh my God.
I'm just getting to know
the hotel lobby crew.
Yeah,
right?
the hotel lobby crew.
You gotta get that right.
You and I align with 3 kids, but then I did one more. She's 7, but she again they played and they're. George and I are definitely know where we are in the pack. We're like the oldest parents. We're the ones
seasoned.
Like everybody ran over to get a picture in front of the goal. I'm like, why are we doing this? This is game 1. This is stupid. And they're like, everybody first game together. I was like, oh, okay, get your phone out and pretend like you're taking a picture.
Just text that to me, please.
Can you give it to me? And like everybody's like, the phones are in the way, and Harper's like, somebody's covering my face. I'm like, I love you. I hope people had fun. So like the perspective, and I want to like, they're a good team. They're good little 7-year-olds, and they they were awesome. And I'm so astounded. She made a couple of shots where I was like, oh my God, are you like 14 rather than 7? But at the same time, because of experience, I want to like take all these really like excited where their 7-year-olds are the firstborn and be like, listen, it's going to be a while and it's a road, and enjoy every step, and just know that like nobody's going pro right now. Like, let's enjoy this and be great, but let's also not put so much pressure on them so that they don't, like what happened with you.
Total
like,
burnout.
Right. Burnout, don't love it anymore. And I'm carrying the weight of, Harper. Sometimes I feel like she might think she's carrying the weight of the world because nobody's scored yet, and she's typically a goal scorer. It's like, no, you're not. You have an entire team. Mm-hmm. You don't carry the weight of this thing. You're only 7. You should be asking me about a concession stand ticket right now.
Right. Well, and it's so funny having my oldest, if he was the goalie, my world would be very different, right? Like my youngest being the goalie, it's kind of like, well, I mean, he got through 11 other people, so
what are you gonna do?
Like you have a
talk
little bit
to
more.
Liam, who is in front of you.
Yeah, I will tell you, I still do get more active minutes during a soccer game because I am the person pacing up and down and nervous about this.
She and Chris are so nervous still. It's so funny. They're very tense.
It's very tense. It's a very tense situation. But it's always kind of in jest, in a game. I don't like to sit. And I don't want to sit and talk to anybody else.
No, they're going to move around a lot too.
So I'm going to go to the one end of the field.
You can come hang out with the soccer dads because we don't do that. Like we're down by the flag.
Yeah.
No chairs.
Totally by
but
myself.
She moves too. You got to keep up. Put your
shoes
we don't move.
I sit down. I squat. I get more and more nervous through the game.
To be fair though, your kid though is put in a lot more
high pressure.
High pressure. So Liam might take somebody on a 1v1, but he's further up the field. Even if he's the last defender, there's still Zagk behind him. So I don't know. I don't have goalies. I don't know what that's like, but I would feel like that is a lot more pressure to be like, my kid's about to, either get pummeled or pummel some kid or whatever it's going to look like.
Well, it's so funny because Chris will go with me over to the one end, and some of the parents are like, "You're going down there," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm his ADHD medicine." Like, he doesn't pay attention all the time. Like, hey, wake up over here! Like, they're coming.
Filter, where's the filter?
So in the world of 3 boys and completely different experiences, it's funny.
And what was the age rate? So Ben's what?
17, 15, and 12. When I look at my 17-year-old who never played at the highest level in any club, like he was always on the second team, the third team, all this stuff. He's starting varsity for Marquette High School, which is in one of the top classes and districts in the area. And he's getting great playing time, and he's learning. He's played so many different positions, it makes him relevant anywhere.
So relatively speaking, would you say that he's had fun the whole time?
I think probably at the end of the day, he's probably the one that had the least pressure and the most fun at this point. And coming through. Charlie and Zach's
Charlie
journey.
had a really like a white and black kind of contrasting journey.
Right.
That's
and we don't know where that's going to go. He's enjoying the game again, and that's all I want for him. And we've let him ride the bus. He's driving the bus as to what he does next. If you want to do that, that's fine. He was the one that saw the kick around option and said, "I'll go. A couple of my friends are going to go." Okay, that's fine. So we're like, okay, we're so excited.
You guys are in the background like, yay!
Yes,
don't show him that we're interested.
I know. Seriously. We're totally hands off.
Be cool. Be cool.
We love.
As they bring home golf clubs.
Right.
Here you go.
Yay!
We love watching our kids play. And I think that's right now with a freshman and a varsity, guess what? That happens almost every game. They're in the same times in different locations. So today it's at Ladue and at Marquette.
I remember you told me, I was like, wait, she wants to meet Ladue or Marquette. That is not right by each other. What are we going to do?
Right. So that kind of stinks because you always are missing somebody's game. And that's what we hate. And then it would the 1 week, it's, and this, you'll get your schedules and it's like, oh, everybody has something at noon on Sunday. and we have nothing on Saturday.
Right.
So we just tell all the kids,
Oh, yeah.
we're just going to go to who we love more.
Yeah.
Do your chores.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, my kids are probably like, no. I'll go by myself. Yeah, I'll get a ride.
Yeah. Which one of you need a ride? That laundry is unfolding itself.
So yeah, I mean, the perspective that I have is so different, and it's so with boys too. I mean, you're talking so much mental health and making sure that they're becoming good humans too for the right reasons.
Right.
I having an older child that's on a varsity team. I mean, he's been around a lot of underage drinking and a lot of parties and things, but he's so scared to cross that bridge and get caught. And he knows the consequences for that. And so, having those things hanging over your head is really important too. And being party, you don't ever want to let anyone down. Your grades are up because if you have any class that you're lower than a certain level, then you can't play. And I think all of those things are so vital and so important for the kids. And that, you have Officer Nelson, he's doing the right thing. Like
Officer Nelson.
Poor Ben. Yeah. He's like, thanks, Mom. Thanks for that. But like so many great things, I think I think there's a lot of listeners who could, might have a Ben, might have a Charlie, might have a Zagk, can definitely feel what it's like, the push and the pull from being like, my job is to be an advocate, but I also need to help him or her advocate for themselves, and how hard that is, and how many times you regret sometimes either going one way or the other, and that it really comes down to the fact that there is no one right answer. There is no one recipe. There's a lot of different ways to make the bread.
What works for your oldest is not going to work for your youngest, and you have to you have to completely turn it around for the middle kid and make it his idea.
Well, the thing is, like,
thank you.
In our house, what we've done, maybe not even realizing it, over the past 2 years, 3 years, whenever, especially since Beckett's really been running in the academy world and Max is starting to excel, I've learned to stay one step behind them. Like, instead of like being the leader in the tip of the arrow, like, well, my kid's going to do here, we're going to go play this club, we're going to do these trainings, this extra, blah, blah, blah. We are one step behind them, waiting for them to say, we like this. We want to go do extra. We want to go to football club. Or, hey, can you get us a new blender because we want new better smoothies. Whatever it is, as long as they continue to exhibit that interest in their individual drive, because you guys know better than anybody. If we put them in a club or on a team in which the drive is exceptionally high and their personal motivation is, even if it's like one step down, that's not good enough.
Nope. Right.
And that creates that tension. Now it's like, as parents, well, the club's not helping us, or the club's not paying attention to my kid's need. And it's so great to hear how you guys have managed it. Like, let the kids drive the bus. Mm-hmm. You guys put the gas in it, you'll air up the tires, but they have to choose the path.
And I think too, like, one of the things that I had heard from, and this is great advice. So kids get overwhelmed as much as we do, and they've got a lot on their plate. They have 8 classes, they have soccer, they have this, they have friends, they have all of these commitments and things that can be overwhelming. Overwhelming doesn't mean unachieved.
Correct.
It doesn't mean they're lacking. So I think sometimes it's very easy to be, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this anymore, and I'm done. And that doesn't have to happen. It's just the self-awareness that I'm overwhelmed, I need to ask for help. And teaching our kids how to ask for help and advocate for themselves, that's a very, very, very hard thing to do. From a soccer standpoint, from an educational standpoint, from an emotional standpoint. Yeah. Overwhelmed behavior and feeling overwhelmed, you almost feel so hopeless, and you have like a everything keeps crashing down on me. I don't know how to get out of it. But having those thoughts doesn't mean that you're not accomplishing anything. You're probably accomplishing way more than the average bear, and you're getting overwhelmed because you are feeling that you've done so much. So trying to instill that, like, yes, algebra's gonna be hard. And I know that when you have an ACT lab time, you would rather spend it with your friends, but you probably need to go sit down with your algebra teacher, because you're going to feel overwhelmed in 3 days when you are studying for that test and you don't understand it.
Right.
So an ounce of prevention is also, so meaningful. And same with soccer. If you're not running and training and feeling good and confident, when you have to go up against a big opponent, you're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're going to make mental errors out there, and you're going to make passes that that you've never done that. Like, why are you forcing this? So just trusting themselves. And I think that's a really, really hard thing as a parent, to sit on a sideline and know they're not playing, they're not the same right now. And knowing why, and not being able.
But there's your curiosity.
Right.
If there's one tool that we all have that I know I forget about sometimes, because I go on the offense, or maybe I'm on the defense and I think action, when I've remembered or accidentally fell into being curious. Like, why do you feel that way? What do you think about that? Whether it's with them, whether it's with the coaches, curiosity. If you have to do one thing, get really curious about what your kid is going through.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. I mean, I've had a child that I had set back and then regretted not having more of a voice, and say, just be honest with him. Don't keep him on this train that is going nowhere, for no reason. But then also to know that you've got kids that, we don't know what's going on in their heads all the time. And just that self-awareness that, having a good, strong family together is important. And it's funny because we'll make our bigger kids come to our little kids' games, and they fall asleep on the sidelines.
but they're there.
But they're there.
But they're there.
But I think that is, at the end of the day, really what is important. Knowing Zagk has his two older brothers at the game. If they're watching or not, he doesn't know.
Right.
They came and they showed up, and it's the same as parents. And knowing that showing up is takes that overwhelming feeling away from them. That they can give you a lot less overwhelmed behavior. So,
well, we're at that time. So thank you very much for joining us.
I had so much fun.
Awesome conversation.
Yes.
Part 2 sometime in the future.
I know.
We got to get an update on everybody.
Guest.
A recurring guest, JV. We don't have to worry about booking. We have a recurring guest.
We'll just keep it. Yeah. Happy hours, Circle 7. We've got it down, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us, Jen. As always, it's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Give us a follow. Check out Mind to Define on all those social platforms. Coach Jen will hook you up with more insight on her day job, which is super cool, helping kids navigate this process as well. So we're going to roll out of here real quick with the last name that was on your wish list. How about a little Lizzo?
All right.
You down with that? We'll see you next time.